Hi there, welcome to the Evening Reader. My name is Priscilla, and this is my new Booktube channel. And I thought that I would kick things off by doing the Booktube Newbie tag. So I'm just going to jump right in. The first question is, why did you want to start a YouTube channel? Well, I really love to talk about books, and I don't have a lot of people in real life to talk about books with. I have had a book blog for a long time, but I don't really keep it updated anymore. I've had it since about 2009, and I miss reviewing books, but I write professionally and I also write fiction as a hobby. So that's a lot of time in front of the computer writing, and sometimes when I want to talk about a book, I just want to talk about it. I don't really want to sit down and write something about it. So I thought that I would give this a shot because I've been watching BookTube for 9 or 10 years and I've really enjoyed it and have for a long time I've wanted to become part of that conversation and tried to start a channel, but I just didn't have the time or maybe always the courage to try it. But I thought, no time like the present. So here we are. The second question is, what can you bring to YouTube that's fun and unique? That is a really daunting question, and I'm not really sure how to answer it except to say I just will bring my unique perspective. I read a lot. I read a lot in my life. I have a degree in English literature, and I went to graduate school for English literature and rhetoric. I've been working as a writer, a technical writer and a marketing writer. Not that that really matters when you're talking about books, but just writing is so much a part of my life, and so is reading, that I think I bring that unique perspective. What's fun? Oh, God. Well, I mean, I have some ideas for the channel that I hope will be fun. And I think just being part of the community will be fun. But we'll just have to see, I guess. Not gonna well, I am kind of doing jazz hands right now. That's fun. Jazz hands are always fun. All right, we'll just go to the next question. What are you most excited for in starting a channel? And I'm most excited for joining the community and having a conversation about books. It just is, it's really exciting to me to think about having other people to talk with. I always learn a lot from BookTube. I've found many terrific book recommendations. It excites me to think that I can share what I'm reading with people, and hopefully it resonates with them and they, broaden their horizons or find something new, or we can just have, a good back and forth about what we're thinking about books, what we're thinking about the book market, specific books, books in general, all of the book things. The fourth question is, why do I love reading? Wow. Why do I love to breathe? Because it keeps me alive. I mean, that's kind of a facetious answer, but reading keeps me alive. It really does. It keeps me going. It makes me feel, not to be cheesy about it, but it makes me feel connected to the human experience. And I think, when I am down or if I've had difficult times in my life, books have always been there for me. And it means a lot. I don't really know what I would do if I couldn't read. I think it would be very difficult to not be able to read. So yeah, that's kind of a deep answer, probably too deep, but well, it is what it is. What book or series got you into reading? Well, I have been reading ever since I could remember. I can't point to one specific thing. Probably the first books that I really remember meaning something to me were the Little House on the Prairie books, which I had all of them. And I was a chronic rereader, so I would reread things. And I was one of those kids that was always getting the most books read award, so I'm a nerd from the get-go. I also really loved the Louisa May Alcott books. I loved Little Women and Little Men, and read those over and over and over again. So those were really important books to me, and especially the character of Jo March. She was important in terms of thinking about, as a model for being a thinking female and being a woman who, was going to be a writer, and she was going to take the world by storm. I think that really resonated with little 9-year-old me, because that's how old I was when I read Little Women. And from there, I just kind of went on and read like the Brontes, and started reading like Jane Eyre and Agatha Christie and Daphne du Maurier, like Rebecca, Edna Ferber. When I was a kid or a teenager, it was like the early 80s, and there were young adult books. There was Judy Blume and there was Essie Hinton, but there wasn't like a lot of YA like there is now. There just wasn't that huge market. It's like you go to the bookstore and there'd be like one big shelf that was maybe like teen books. So I started reading like a more adult literature pretty early on in life. Like by the time I was 13, 14, I was reading like John Irving. It's kind of disturbing. I don't know. And things like that. Anne Rice and Susan Isaacs. And like I said, I went on to major in English literature. Or did I say that? Yeah. I went on to major in English literature. So I enjoyed classic literature. And I've just been a reader my whole life. So I guess, yeah, it was just what got me into reading. And then you got a whole bunch of stuff, really. Let's see. The next question is, what question would I ask my favorite booktuber? Well, that's a tough one. Because there are a lot of questions, and there are a lot of different types of questions. I guess, just what advice do you have for a beginning booktuber, or what advice would you give yourself if you could start over again? That's probably what I would ask, because it's a little daunting trying to plan and trying to think about how you're going to fit in, and what kind of content is really the best kind of content, or, and then there are technical questions like how to edit. I really don't know anything about video editing, so that's a challenge. So I have a lot of questions, and I guess I'll figure out the answers as I go along, and maybe someday I'll be offering up advice to some new booktuber. That'll be interesting. Let's see. The challenges or hurdles to starting a channel. Editing, the editing. Again, the deciding what kind of content to do. TBRs and hauls and reviews and what to focus on. I mean, it's all kind of daunting, but I think it's going to be fun. I guess the biggest challenge for me will be consistency and in creating content, and then also feeling confident, because I think probably here at the beginning it's going to be a little tough. Not having viewers, maybe not getting any comments. It could be a little tough to think that you want to go create another video when it doesn't feel like your videos are getting much response. But I'm willing to give it a shot for at least 6 months or a year, to see how it goes, and hopefully post like 3 times a week and get some subscribers. I'm obviously not looking to have like a huge vlog or take the world by storm or anything. I really just would love to find some like-minded people to talk with about books. Let's see. The next question is, when did you start reading? I can't tell you that. I have no idea, because I can't remember a time when I didn't read. I know that's an answer that a lot of booktubers give. I mean, that's why we're here, because we've probably always been readers, or many of us have always been readers. So I think I was an only child. My parents were big readers and they taught me to read very early. So I went to school already knowing how to read. And I can remember like being very small, like maybe 3 or 4, and following the words like in the newspaper with my finger and trying to read. And I think I was pretty stubborn about it, actually. I think I was probably pretty stubborn that I wanted to read like a grown-up, because I pretty much wanted to do everything like a grown-up from when I was very small. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. Uh, the next question is, where do you read? I'm here at my desk where I work, and it's in a room that is like a second living room. We live in a flat, and we have 1 bedroom, and then we have 2 living rooms. So there's a sofa in here. It's a pull-out sofa because this also is our guest room, and I usually sit there and read. And occasionally I sit in the living room and read. And there's the room that my husband and I refer to as the library. You know what room I'm talking about? And you read in there. I bet you read in there. Sometimes it's the only place that you can actually focus and read. Okay, all right, I'll stop now. The next question is, what kind of books do you like to read? Oh gosh, I love to read anything that has a strong voice, really. Strong voice, strong characters with a good arc and strong writing. Good, clear writing. I don't mind books that are very poetic, but if poetics is all there is and there's no, I don't know, there's no real voice, or it's not a voice that sounds like the character, it sounds like the author, that kind of makes me nuts. But I like to read mostly fiction. I read literary fiction. I don't really care about genre. I used to be a big book snob, but I have really fallen out of that and really look for those traits that I just mentioned. I don't really care about the genre. I've found so many good books across genres as I started to open up what I was reading, and it's made a huge difference in my reading life. And I would say the same thing goes for nonfiction. I don't like to read anything that's dry. I think that voice is very important in nonfiction, just as important as it is in fiction. And so is, to a degree, a certain amount of character or a certain amount of caring about either the fact that the author is passionate about the subject or that there is a player within the story that is interesting. I mean, and that player doesn't even have to be like a person, if that makes any sense. But it's more than just, sort of dry, factual, that doesn't really interest me. I like to read new books. I like to read classics. Yeah, I mean, I hate to be like, I love everything. I don't really love everything. It's not that I don't love YA or middle grade, but I don't have kids, and it's just not an area that I am naturally drawn to. I don't know much about it. So I don't read much of that. I don't read a lot about war, just war in general. Books about battles that are very like sort of strategic about, specific battles and things like that. That's not something that really interests me. The thing that really interests me when it comes to nonfiction is music and art. Those are 2 main areas. I also love to read about nature. I like to read about language, and linguistics is also very interesting to me. And I also read a lot of books on writing. And I think I would read them even if I wasn't a writer myself, because I'm just very interested in sort of how it gets done, how different writers approach writing, and what are their methods, and what do they think about, or what their influences have been. So that's the kind of long answer, I guess. I guess I should say my favorite authors. My favorite authors are, well, I love Donna Tartt, Larry McMurtry, Alice Munro, Lori Moore, Richard Russo, Sarah Gran, Tana French, um, Jennifer Haig, who you can actually see, I think, a stack of her books there. I love Patti Smith. Wow. Yeah, the list is pretty long actually. So I think that's a few. You can kind of file those away. And then my final question is, what does your book collection look like? Well, my book collection is spread all over the house, on different bookshelves all over the apartment, and yeah, I guess we have probably about 10 bookshelves. At nothing, it's not by color. It's except for a few authors. It's not by author. It's not by nonfiction or fiction. They're just kind of scattered, and I'm constantly like pulling books down and making little piles of things to read for myself, and then moving the piles around and then putting things back on the shelf. And that's why they're completely disorganized, because I'm really terrible about following a TBR. So I don't know how good I'll be at doing TBR videos because I probably would do one and then just not follow it. So that's it. So now the books are just scattered everywhere, and I'm kind of I have like a sort of an absent-minded professor approach to organization. So I know where everything is, though. That's the interesting thing. Even as I move things around, I know where everything is. So, well, that's pretty much it. That concludes all the questions. I want to keep this kind of short, so, but I do have a question for you. If you've made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much. And I'd love to hear about what kind of booktube content is your favorite content, what you like. If you have a channel, what kind of books you're most interested in, or if we have anything in common. I would love to hear from you. And so I hope that you will like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again. Thanks for visiting. Bye.